12-year-old Carissa Boudreaux vanished on the evening of January 27, 2008, in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia. It was assumed that she fled after a disagreement with her mother, Penny Boudreaux, while visiting a nearby grocery store. The investigation took an unexpected turn, leaving the neighborhood in disbelief at what was revealed. What then caused Carissa's tragic passing? What transpired on that crucial day? Hello, everyone. Welcome to our YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today, I have some incredibly exciting news to share with you. We're hosting a massive giveaway to express our gratitude for your amazing support. That's right. We're giving away the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the MacBook Pro. And the best part? 3 lucky winners will have the chance to take home these fantastic prizes. Just leave a comment and like this video. A coastal community called Bridgewater is located along the Le Havre River in Nova Scotia, Canada. It is the biggest town in the South Shore region, home to more than 8,000 inhabitants. Although Bridgewater is primarily renowned as a commercial and industrial hub, it hosts many cultural events. These events include the Growing Green Sustainability Festival, Christmas on Le Havre, and the annual Bridgewater Garden Party. A terrible incident happened amidst the busy activities and calm surroundings, a crime that upended this small town's tranquility. On October 4, 1995, Carissa Boudreaux was born in Yarmouth County, Nova Scotia, Canada. The Boudreaux were her parents, Penny and Paul. Carissa was renowned for being outgoing and for always sporting a cheerful expression. She rejoiced and found comfort in life's simple joys. She enjoyed swimming, collecting stuffed animals, reading novels, playing video games on her Nintendo DS, and listening to Miley Cyrus and Hilary Duff's Spice Girls music. But Carissa had one desire that lit her heart on fire. She frequently expressed her strong desire to work with animals, particularly those with fur and feathers, and become a veterinarian. The future's course took an unexpected turn as Carissa's life's chapters shifted. Circumstances eventually caused her parents to split up. Despite this upheaval, Carissa was lucky to continue getting love from both of her parents.
I don't know where you are, but just come home or call or something, please. All your friends are looking for you, and we're all worried. We just want you home safe. It's not like we're going to get mad. We just want you home safe. Please.
Carissa temporarily lived in Shelburne County with her father for a while, but by the beginning of 2008, she had moved in completely with her mother, Penny, in their 2-bedroom Bridgewater, Nova Scotia apartment. At the time, Vernon Macabre, Penny's boyfriend, also shared their apartment with them. Carissa began attending Bridgewater Elementary School as a 6th grader in her new setting. For Carissa and her family, life appeared to be going well. The wicked grin of destiny, however, had other ideas. A mother's heart broke as she wore the Bridgewater Police Department uniform on a chilly January evening, specifically on January 27, 2008. Penny was that mother, and she had a traumatic revelation to impart. Carissa, her 12-year-old daughter, was missing.
I'm just here to reach out to my daughter. Carissa, I just want to tell you that you have lots of people who love you and want you home. Your Aunt April is here, your mom is here, your dad, Shane, Vernon, your Uncle Joey, your Aunt Chrissy, your friend Sarah's worried sick, everybody at school, your grandmothers, everybody. Please just reach out to someone. At least call us and let you know you're okay. We all love you. And if there's anybody out there that knows, has seen her or anything, please call.
It all began when Penny and Carissa got into a furious dispute earlier in the day. They discovered themselves parked outside the Bridgewater Mall at about 5:30 p.m. While arguing, Carissa remained in the vehicle, and Penny went into the mall's Sobeys shop to pick up a few things. About 15 minutes later, she went back to the car. She was shocked to see that Carissa had left. To locate her kid nearby, she started looking about right away. The awareness that Carissa was nowhere to be found set in as the minutes went into hours. Penny made her way home with a heavy heart and a rising sense of dread, hoping against hope that Carissa would show up at any moment. But as 8:30 p.m. approached and her daughter was still missing, Penny had to make the painful choice to call the police. The search for Carissa immediately started after the upsetting phone conversation. Police and family members joined together to find her. They carried out extensive searches and even enlisted a rescue dog's assistance. Everyone anxiously awaited any leads or information that would help bring Carissa home, so the entire night was spent worrying. Bridgewater's residents held their breath in anticipation of an answer to the mystery, while a family clung to hope in anticipation of Carissa's safe return. All searches that day, however, were unsuccessful. This revelation demoralized the investigators. Carissa appeared to have escaped. The fact that Carissa was unprepared for the severe weather at the time of her disappearance concerned the authorities, among other things. She was wearing blue trousers, a black vest, and a black sweatshirt, which were inappropriate clothing for the prevalent bitter cold. There was a sense of urgency as the morning of January 28, 2008 approached. The Bridgewater Police Department's officers took prompt action after realizing the seriousness of the situation. In their tenacious search for Carissa, they communicated with various law enforcement agencies and disseminated information widely. The search for solutions quickly went public. The security footage from establishments close to the Bridgewater Mall was closely reviewed by investigators and provided a window into the period before Carissa vanished. They pieced together Carissa's mother Penny's statement and discovered that she had visited the Sobeys as she had said. But then a depressing truth became apparent. The parking lot of the mall had no security cameras. Without it, they couldn't establish if Carissa had been there or determine where she might have gone if she had left the region. The lack of this tangible evidence presented a problem, but it only strengthened the investigators' resolve. They persisted in their resolve, refusing to give up looking for Carissa. On January 29, 2008, at first light, a significant development in the hunt for Carissa took place. In a news conference, Carissa's mother, Penny, commanded attention. She started crying, and her voice started to tremble. She pled for her daughter's safe return with pure vulnerability, pleading with Carissa to get in touch and let them know she was okay. Penny provided additional information regarding the day Carissa vanished during the press conference. She admitted that she had taken Carissa for a drive in the hopes of sincerely discussing some underlying concerns. Penny revealed that Carissa had struggled to make friends since their move to Bridgewater and had been dissatisfied with their present living circumstances. Sadly, their chat veered off course and became a heated quarrel over petty issues. Paul, Carissa's father, was also there at the news conference representing the unified face of a struggling family. He joined Penny in pleading with his daughter to return home with a sorrowful heart. They successfully evoked strong emotional responses from people in the room and the larger society. On the day of the intense press conference, a ray of optimism appeared when night fell. The officers had received a tip, information that would help them get closer to Carissa. Although the tip's specifics are unknown, their importance is not undone. The Lunenburg County Ground Search and Rescue Team jumped into action with a newfound feeling of purpose. They followed the advice and arrived at William Hebb Road in Hebbville. They scoured the area, their eyes exploring every square inch, and the anticipation in the air was palpable. They had not found anything after 4 hours of searching. A profound sense of disappointment mixed with their unrelenting resolve as the hunt for that day ended. The community was also contributing to the search for Carissa simultaneously. Concerned parents banded together and used social media to spread the word about their daughter's absence. Their work established a support network, giving people a venue to unite and help Penny, Carissa's mother. Donations flooded in, displaying the community's dedication to offering support in whatever manner. Missing person posters with Carissa's pictures were frequently placed around Bridgewater and beyond. They were a daily reminder of her absence and a call to action for anyone with information. 2 police officers carried out a thorough check in numerous areas on January 31, 2008. Using a Department of Natural Resources helicopter, they searched the Le Havre River, the Bridgewater Mall, and the forested areas surrounding the town. They looked everywhere, but but couldn't find anything to support Carissa's absence. The scene was prepared for another press conference on February 1st, 2008. Once more taking center stage was Penny, Carissa's mother. Her voice was a mixture of desperation and resolve. She repeated her request with more tears in her eyes. Her remarks rang with the agony of a parent hoping for the safe homecoming of her kid. She voiced the unbearable sorrow of not knowing where her kid was. The cops stood beside Penny, resolute in their determination to find Carissa. They spoke to the public and emphasized that there has been no proof to date that Carissa will suffer any harm. In a sea of doubts, the words provided a glimpse of optimism. The hunt for Carissa intensified in the days after the press presentation. Divers searched the area below the Bridgewater Mall and further downriver to Shipyard's Landing in the frigid waters of the La Havre River. On February 6, 2008, the police declared that they had finished their investigation and were certain Carissa was not in the river. On February 7, 2008, the police kept pursuing leads tenaciously. According to several tips throughout the maritime provinces, Carissa may have been seen. Each lead was rigorously followed up as the neighborhood clung to optimism for a discovery. However, Carissa eluded them despite their best efforts. There was a twist of fate on February 9, 2008. A passing driver discovered unsettling information. A lifeless body was partially hidden in the snow on the La Havre riverbank in Conquerall Bank, just outside Bridgewater town limits. Approximately 11:30 a.m. was the time. Forensic investigators flocked to the area as quickly as the discovery was made known. In the meantime, the police called Carissa's family to share the tragic news that human remains had been discovered. They withheld additional information from the public, leaving many issues unresolved. The police hesitantly confirmed that the retrieved body belonged to a young Caucasian female the following day, February 10, 2008. They did stress that an identification wouldn't be made until the autopsy was finished. Numerous people gathered in the Sobeys parking lot for a prayer vigil in memory of Carissa amidst this emotional turmoil. They stood together, uncertain whether the remains belonged to their beloved Carissa. But the truth started to come out in the days that followed. The body discovered near the riverside was positively identified as Carissa by study of dental records. On February 13, 2008, a distressing finding was made during an autopsy. She'd been choked to death. The absence of any evidence of abuse was rather relieving. Investigators were likewise baffled by this, especially in light of the alarming fact that her jeans and underwear had been pulled down when she was found. To inform the public that the body belonged to Carissa, the police conducted a news conference on February 14, 2008, converting the missing person case into a homicide investigation. This shocking information rocked the neighborhood because her sad murder was the first to occur in Bridgewater in nearly 20 years. 3 Bridgewater residents were detained for interrogation that day, raising a commotion in the community. Although they wouldn't reveal their identities, the police stressed that Carissa's murder was not an accident and that she might have known her assassin. However, the anxiety increased the next day when it was revealed that none of the 3 people who had been detained had been charged.
Boudreaux was arrested on Friday,
The Nova
June
Scotia
13th
Medical
in Halifax.
Examiner's Office handed
She was
over
arrested to the
Carissa's
charge of
body to her
first-degree
father,
murder on
Paul
Monday, June
Boudreaux,
16th at
on
Bridgewater
February
Provincial Court.
16, 2008. The spot where Carissa was discovered was transformed into a tender memorial in a genuine act of remembering. In memory of the departed life, mourners paid their condolences by leaving innumerable trinkets, toys, and flowers. On February 19, 2008, hundreds of people came to Shelburne County to say goodbye to Carissa, and the atmosphere was heavy with grief. Her father and grandparents still lived in this small village. Reverend Perry Ingersoll presided over the sad funeral service. Tears ran down the faces of everyone in attendance as a slideshow depicting the priceless moments Carissa had shared with her loved ones was played throughout the service. 2 of Carissa's aunts stood up to console the bereaved crowd and began to read poems. After everything was said and done, Carissa was finally buried in the Clarks Harbor Cemetery. In a touching memorial ceremony planned by 9 churches, Bridgewater joined together to mourn Carissa 4 days later, on February 23, 2008. As Bridgewater's daughter, The community had adopted her as one of their own. Penny moved to Halifax, a city located around 80 kilometers distant from Bridgewater, after her daughter's funeral. She made the move, possibly hoping for a new beginning somewhere else. Investigators committed themselves to the tenacious pursuit of justice in the wake of all this. Weeks flew by as they laboriously pursued leads and tips that flowed in from the neighborhood, sorting through every piece of evidence. With a shared sense of responsibility for finding the individual who took Carissa's life, they toiled nonstop to end this awful case. Coffee shops in the area were buzzing with discussions about the crime as worried people looked for information and comfort in other people's company. As the research progressed, an unsettling idea started to surface. Investigators wondered if Penny, Carissa's mother, might have been complicit in her daughter's untimely demise. Neighbor stories of a distressing occurrence in Penny's apartment just days after Carissa's body was discovered added fuel to these worries. Witnesses said Penny and her boyfriend Vernon had a violent argument inside the flat. The sound of flowing water and rising voices could be heard by the neighbors. Vernon appeared in the bathtub while refusing to assist Penny with something. Through the walls, their quarrel reverberated as Vernon continually questioned Penny, expressed his disdain, and threatened to leave her. Although the specifics of their talk were unclear, these occurrences seriously alarmed the investigators. These alarming developments caused the detectives to concentrate on Penny and Vernon. The once tragic case took a terrifying turn as the investigators started looking into the nuances of family dynamics and the truths concealed behind closed doors. Agents working covertly broke into Vernon's life by posing as members of a well-known crime organization. They had chats concerning Carissa's murder after gaining his trust. Although Vernon denied being involved in the crime, he confided in them about his concerns about Penny's potential involvement. He acknowledged that he was closely monitoring her to shield himself from any potential involvement in the crime. The research became much more complicated as a result of this discovery. A startling revelation awaited the detectives when they turned their attention to Penny. Like Vernon, undercover police operatives approached Penny while posing as crime gang members. If she admitted to the unthinkable, the murder of her daughter and the circumstances surrounding it, they offered to help her. Surprisingly, Penny fell victim to their trap in June 2008. She confessed to a crime that would send chills down anyone's spine, unaware that covert cameras were recording everything she said. Penny recalled the events of that fateful evening in her terrifying revelation. She admitted that she and Carissa had driven to a nearby supermarket, where she first called Vernon and cooked up a tale about Carissa going missing. Then, after tricking her daughter, Penny took her to a lonely road and sternly told her to get out. Penny's true self came to light in that place's solitude and darkness. Penny shoved Carissa down with a dark heart, forcing her to the ground. She grabbed a string and tightly cinched it around Carissa's neck. She then ruthlessly choked her flesh and blood to death. Carissa exclaimed in a frightening moment, "Mommy, don't." However, Penny continued to ignore her screams for help. After killing Carissa, Penny put her body in the car's trunk and continued to drive while deciding what to do next. Before disposing of Carissa's body close to the freezing Le Havre River, she dumped the twine at a cafe. Penny also removed some of Carissa's clothes to give the impression that she had been abused. Later, she threw these things and one of Carissa's sandals in a trash can near a neighborhood pool. When asked why she killed her daughter, Penny gave a startling admission. She admitted that she was forced to decide between her daughter and her boyfriend, Vernon, after he gave her an ultimatum. Penny said she would do everything to keep Vernon by her side in a perverse act of devotion. She could not bear the prospect of losing him more than she could bear the thought of killing her child. The reasons behind Penny's crime were deeply distressing, exposing the lengths she was prepared to go to preserve their relationship. Penny was detained on June 14, 2008, and formally accused of killing her daughter in the first degree. As the heiress news quickly circulated, the community and residents were shocked and unable to fathom the horrific truth. Paul, Carissa's father, was among many who were greatly affected. Paul was shocked to discover that Penny had been aware of the truth of their daughter's fate the entire time. He struggled to understand the unexplainable actions of the lady he had once loved as the weight of the betrayal, and the loss fell hard on him. Following Penny's arrest, Vernon was questioned by law enforcement. He angrily refuted her claim and maintained his innocence, denying ever offering Penny an ultimatum. Instead, he clarified that he'd raised his concerns about Penny and Carissa's constant argumentation and suggested that something needed to be done to reduce the rising tension. Vernon admitted that he had no idea what direction Penny would ultimately go. Penny made her first court appearance on June 16, 2008. The murder charge was read aloud as she sobbed hysterically while holding a tissue in her shaking hands. Collective sorrow and shock after the untimely death of little Carissa filled the room. An emotional crowd had gathered outside the courthouse as Penny was being led out. The air was filled with taunts of murder and child murder. Penny found herself in the Bridgewater courtroom on December 4, 2008. She rocked back and forth, creating a tense atmosphere in the space. The attorneys discussed the next court hearings and scheduled upcoming appearances. The court ultimately scheduled Penny's next hearing for January 30, 2009, leaving her with a frightening wait before she would again be subjected to the full might of the legal system. On January 30, 2009, as Penny pleaded guilty to the amended charge of second-degree murder, the courtroom was tense with expectancy. It was decided to accept the plea agreement to avoid a drawn-out trial. Wearing a black t-shirt and trousers, Penny sobbed hysterically throughout the hearing. Paul, Carissa's father, presented a victim impact statement during the hearings, and his comments resounded with tremendous sorrow. He wrote about how one selfish deed destroyed his happiness and hopes and dreams. As the time for sentencing approached, Justice Margaret Stewart, the presiding judge, glanced at Penny and spoke in a forceful tone that cut through the gloom of the courtroom. The sentence was finally said. Penny was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 20 years following her arrest. Penny stood up briefly to address the court, her words scarcely audible as the weight of her sentencing began to weigh on her. She said, "I'm sorry." Paul left the courtroom with his feelings about the event still raw. He was so deeply frustrated and doubtful that he couldn't help himself. He accused Penny of crying only crocodile tears over the death of his daughter, while speaking with a mixture of rage and despair. Paul couldn't help but wonder about Penny's decisions. He questioned why she hadn't thought to offer their daughter a place to live with him, or another kind relative. Vernon later voiced his profound sorrow about Carissa's passing in an interview. He expressed his love for her and his deep regret for not being able to defend her. Vernon also spoke of his difficulty getting a job due to his connection to the case, which drove him to drink. Paul, meantime, was determined to get past the awful death of his daughter and not let it define his life. At first, he found the trip to Bridgewater, where the crime was committed, daunting. Paul remarked, "I was so nervous I couldn't even pull in the exit." He was able to get over his worries and start again in Shelburne, though, with time. With Kim, a lady he fell in love with and spent time with, they treasured Carissa's memories. Carmi, the couple's daughter, was informed about her deceased older sister by Paul. The case of Carissa's murder serves as a reminder of the complexity of interpersonal connections and the depths of human evil. It makes us pause to consider the value of fostering and safeguarding the weak and the repercussions of making decisions based on wrong priorities or desperation. One question remains as we draw to a close this chapter. Would Penny have ever admitted to killing her kid if the police hadn't used clever investigative techniques to get to the bottom? Please share your opinions with us in the comment area. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share. Many thanks for viewing, and be careful.